I want to talk about Yars Rising, the forthcoming Metroidvania platformer game from Atari and developer WayForward, set in the Yars Revenge universe. And this isn't a game review, or even a demo review. As I record this, it doesn't even have a solid release date beyond sometime in 2024. In fact, it might even be more accurate to say I want to talk about fan reactions to Yars Rising, which thus far are based solely on a trailer and 20 minutes of gameplay, fan reactions that are alarmingly negative and dismissive. I'll elaborate right after this. This video supported in part by...
Playing VR, I tend to sweat. It gives me an edge. So King of Nerds happens to give me an edge too. Let King of Nerds give you the edge. Bye, King of Nerds.
Hey there, welcome back to GenXGrownUp. I'm John, and I am a GenXGrownUp. Thank you so much for taking the time to click on this video. And first things first, let's talk about what is Yars Rising. Yars Rising is, as I mentioned, a Metroidvania-style adventure game set in the Yars Revenge universe, where you play as computer hacker Emmy, who has been hired to infiltrate the computer systems of the allegedly evil company she works for, Kotek, a not-so-subtle nod to the evil adversary, the Kotile, from Yars Revenge. Along the way, you play Yars Revenge-inspired mini-games on computer terminals where you can open doors, gain perks, and acquire new abilities. Now, just last week when the demo dropped, I did a live stream playing through it, and right away, the comments in the stream were pretty evenly split between those interested in seeing what the game had to offer, and those who had already dismissed it as being a terrible game that is absolutely not a Yars game. Now, I'm not trying to convince anyone to like this game, or even to play it, but rather to consider what might be causing the knee-jerk negative prejudgment and how the direction of this game might fit into the overall strategic tapestry that Atari is weaving. The overwhelming comment I saw from so many was, "This is not a Yars game." And I can't help but wonder if this is from the same people who said the current Atari isn't the real Atari because of its current ownership and decisions. Now, this is a Yars game. There's no two ways about it. Is it authorized and published by the owner and copyright of the Yars Revenge IP? Yes. Did they say it's a Yars game? Yes. Well, then it is. But likely, that's technically not what they mean by not Yars. More likely they mean, I don't recognize this as a Yars game because it's not what I expected to see. And it is very different. You're not an evolved fly on a single screen battling a Kotile, so it's certainly not Yars Revenge, but that doesn't mean it's not a Yars game. It's the same sort of thing I hear when a new Star Trek series is launched and superfans proclaim, "That's not Star Trek." And that usually means it features ideas, characters, or situations which expand on the franchise without repeating what you've already seen. Now that can be risky and not always successful, but it's how you evolve a franchise and grow new audiences. This Yars Rising game is nothing like any other game before it. Not Yars Revenge, not Dennis DuBro's Yars Return, and certainly not 2011's weird on-rails Xbox Live Arcade game. This is something very different, and you might not like it. I haven't played the full game yet, so I might not like it. In fact, I posit that the anime-like character design and pop music soundtrack very well may not be targeted at Gen X olds like us, but rather, Atari is looking for new and creative ways to evolve legacy IP into games that younger modern gamers can connect with. Look, they're not making new Gen Xers. As a customer base, we're a shrinking population. I think it's wise of Atari to try new and different things with legacy games. Oh, and semi-ironically, I bet there's a non-negligible overlap between critics who say Yars Rising is too radically different and those who scold Atari for reselling the same games over and over to its ardent fans. Which way is it? One surprising criticism I saw related to the dialogue in the game. Too much talking, not enough action, they said. Did you buy Yars Revenge for your 2600? Did you skip the comic book? Look, one key reason the original Yars worked was because it established story, background, and motivation for the action. Now, you can always skip the dialogue in Yars Rising, but that very exposition is informing and expanding on the Yars lore. Don't you want to know more about this world, its characters, and their motivations? And I guess if the answer to that is no, there's that aforementioned skip button. And finally, one of the more reasoned complaints is that Howard Scott Warshaw, the father of Yars, was in no way involved in this game. And that also stings me just a bit, and I get it. but it doesn't discourage me from giving Rising a try for a couple of reasons. Firstly, Yars Rising seems to be going out of its way to not brand itself as a sequel, but rather a game set in the Yars universe. That suggests to me it's not a linear continuation of a narrative, but rather an expansion to the characters and events that take place alongside Yars' revenge. Of course, there's always the possibility of a twist. Maybe it's not branded as a sequel because it's actually some sort of prequel that predates Yars' revenge. I don't know. Whatever the case, I'm curious to know in what ways Rising relates to and expands on Yars without retreading the same ground. And secondly, we live in an amazing time for Atari fans. And as first reported when I spoke with Howard last year, the man himself is currently working on a true sequel to Yars' Revenge, a game that has not yet been revealed, but which may or may not be entitled Yars Academy. See my interview for more details. So I think it's fair to say modern Atari is actually going out of its way to not only expand to meet a younger audience, but also catering to decades-long fans who prefer a bit more HSW in their Yars games. Yars Rising is scheduled to release later in 2024, and after playing the demo, I can honestly say that while I'm not in love with every decision made in the art and music departments, I am intrigued with the angle and am very much looking forward to playing it through. What's your opinion? And more importantly for me, how did you arrive at that opinion? What's your reasoning? Please sound off down in the comments below. And if you're a creator and are posting your own reaction or response to my video, please remember to @tag me so I don't miss it. While you ponder all of this, I'll throw links here and here to some other Atari videos I've published recently. I certainly hope you found something to enjoy in this video, and I cannot wait to talk to you again next time. Bye-bye.